Over 400 civilians dead following an airstrike on a hospital in Kabul. A staggering swarm of nearly 1,800 drones intercepted. And across South Asia, national power grids are fracturing. Good morning.
Good morning.
You are joining us for today's deep dive into the current events of South Asia and the surrounding regions for March 25, 2026. Note that the sources we are drawing from today contain highly charged political and military actions.
Right, and we must emphasize that the hosts are not taking any sides or endorsing any viewpoints here. We are impartially reporting the facts and perspectives contained in the intelligence sources to ensure you are well informed.
Exactly.
Our objective is absolute clarity, prioritizing facts over sensationalism, panic, or, fear-mongering.
But before we begin our analysis, a brief message. This deep dive is generated by Stylo News, the AI-powered news application, and is sponsored by ProWave AI. To celebrate 1 year of operations, ProWave AI is offering a March special discount on Stylo News.
Yes, you can use the discount code STYLO at www.stylonews.com. Though please note, this offer is valid only until the end of March and is strictly limited to the first 250 subscribers.
Now, for those of you who might be unfamiliar with the architecture of this platform, Stylo News is the consumer version of the Stylo Intel ops software.
Which is a robust platform engineered for enterprise operations. It's utilized by government, military, and international business sectors.
Right, which means what you're experiencing today is unique access to a tool specifically designed to support global decision makers. So our mission for this deep dive is clear. We are analyzing intelligence estimates spanning the past 2 weeks.
Right. We will examine the escalating Pakistan-Afghanistan war, map the severe economic ripple effects originating from the Middle East, and evaluate India's strategic positioning amidst these multi-front challenges.
So let's begin with the most immediate kinetic conflict in the region. And when we use the term kinetic in intelligence, we are referring to active physical warfare, bombs, artillery, direct combat.
Yes, to understand the broader instability of South Asia, we really must first look at the primary flashpoint, that being the Pakistan-Afghanistan frontier.
Well, the baseline of instability along the Durand Line has entirely fractured into open hostilities.
Yeah.
We saw this conflict intensify significantly in late February 2026.
We did. When you look at the raw data, the escalation is severe. I mean, we are no longer discussing isolated border skirmishes here.
No, not at all. These are coordinated military engagements. Pakistan has conducted multiple airstrikes on major Afghan cities, specifically targeting areas in Kabul and Kandahar.
And the most devastating of these strikes occurred just recently, on March 16. Pakistani forces struck the Omid Addiction Treatment Hospital in Kabul.
The reported figures from this single event are incredibly sobering. Over 400 civilian deaths and more than 250 injuries.
Right, and Afghanistan's response has been direct military retaliation. They launched significant strikes against Pakistani military installations.
Including a major attack on a military base in Wana, Pakistan, right?
Exactly. So we are looking at a regional crisis that has displaced over 115,000 people. It has shattered vital local infrastructure and created severe humanitarian distress in a very vulnerable area.
And to understand how this conflict escalated so rapidly, we have to examine the perspectives and the stated rationales of the key decision makers. The government of Pakistan asserts that it is strictly acting in self-defense.
Yes, they claim they are targeting the sanctuaries of militant groups, specifically the Tehrik-e-Taliban Pakistan, or the TTP. From Islamabad's perspective, they are defending their national sovereignty against non-state actors.
It is crucial context to note that Pakistan is stretching its military resources at a very precarious time. According to the data, Pakistan actually topped the Global Terrorism Index in 2025.
Right. They are facing immense internal security threats that heavily drives their aggressive posture on the border.
Conversely, the Afghan Taliban government categorically denies harboring the TTP or any other anti-Pakistan militants. They accuse Pakistan of unprovoked aggression and the massacre of civilians under the guise of counterterrorism. Okay, let's unpack this.
Please do.
We frequently hear people call the disputed Durand Line a pressure cooker, but that doesn't really explain how it functions. You could look at the Durand Line less like a solid border wall and more like a highly porous membrane. Historically, it was designed to let local tribal populations pass back and forth relatively freely. But right now, like a pressure cooker with a blocked release valve, that same porous nature is allowing militant factions to bleed back and forth across the border.
Which makes it nearly impossible to contain the infection of the conflict to just one side.
Exactly.
That is a highly accurate assessment of the geography. And what's fascinating here is the digital footprint accompanying this physical war. If we assess the social media sentiment, tracking hashtags like hashtag Pakistan-Afghanistan war and hashtag TTP, we see a clear consensus.
A consensus on the severity of the situation on the ground.
Exactly. While official state sources and international media naturally vary on the exact casualty numbers, the sheer volume of the on-the-ground reporting confirms we are looking at a highly volatile state of open war.
The localized impacts are devastating. But in our modern, interconnected world, conflicts of this scale rarely remain contained.
No, they don't.
Why does a kinetic war in the Middle East matter to a border clash in South Asia? Let us shift our focus to the economic shockwaves currently originating from the Gulf.
The broader West Asian conflict has seen a dramatic, historic escalation. Following a decapitation strike conducted by the United States and Israel, Iran's supreme leader was killed.
And a decapitation strike, for context, is a targeted attack aimed at eliminating top leadership to paralyze a command structure.
Precisely. And Iran immediately retaliated with massive aerial barrages across the region.
The numbers detailing the United Arab Emirates' air defense response are a testament to the sheer scale of this exchange. The UAE successfully intercepted 341 ballistic missiles, 15 cruise missiles, and 1,748 unmanned aerial vehicles.
And while those military interceptions were largely successful, the strategic economic targets in the region were not entirely spared. Iranian strikes successfully targeted Qatar's Ras Laffan liquefied natural gas, or LNG, facility.
Which was severe enough that it forced Qatar Energy to declare force majeure.
Right.
For those not immersed in contract law, force majeure is essentially an act of God clause. It allows a company to immediately halt their supply contracts without legal penalty because an unforeseeable, unavoidable event destroyed their ability to operate.
Exactly. They abruptly halted LNG supplies. And that specific mechanism is how a Middle Eastern war instantly triggers a South Asian crisis. The suspension of LNG exports has caused a severe fuel shortage.
Now, one might ask why this hits South Asia so much harder than Europe or North America. It comes down to how these nations purchase their fuel.
Wealthier Western nations often have long-term, locked-in energy contracts. But nations like Bangladesh, Pakistan, and Sri Lanka frequently rely on the spot market.
Right, buying fuel month to month. When a major facility like Ras Laffan goes offline, global supply plummets, prices absolutely skyrocket, and these South Asian nations simply cannot afford the fuel. The ships stop coming.
And the local and national impacts of that dynamic are profound. Right now, Bangladesh, Pakistan, and Sri Lanka are facing critical energy deficits. The sources indicate this has resulted in widespread school closures,
As well as severe rationing of petrol and diesel and the immediate looming threat of civil unrest. We are seeing echoes of fuel-related protests globally in the intelligence reports.
Yes. The sources draw direct parallels to the escalating civil unrest currently happening in Cuba over power outages. Also, political demonstrations in Tamil Nadu, India, driven by local LPG shortages.
When a society's energy supply chains break down, societal stability quickly follows. Which leads me to ask, does a severe energy crisis of this magnitude force rival nations to cooperate out of sheer necessity, or does it simply pour gasoline on existing geopolitical fires?
Well, if we connect this to the bigger picture, we see it doing both, depending on the actors involved. When a nation like Bangladesh loses its power grid due to these Middle Eastern strikes, it becomes desperate.
And desperation creates a geopolitical vacuum.
Precisely. In the midst of this fuel crisis, India responded by sending 5,000 metric tons of diesel to Bangladesh via the India-Bangladesh oil pipeline. This is a clear demonstration of pragmatic diplomacy.
India acting quickly to mitigate an immediate crisis and stabilize its neighbor, which naturally brings us to New Delhi. How is India navigating these multi-front challenges on the global chessboard?
India has taken a strong, highly vocal stance at the international level. At the United Nations Security Council, India's permanent representative Harish Parvathani strongly condemned Pakistan's airstrikes on Afghanistan.
He did not mince words. He characterized the attack on the Kabul hospital as a barbaric and cowardly massacre disguised as a military operation.
Right. And India has paired that diplomatic condemnation with direct action, delivering 2.5 tons of emergency medical aid to Kabul.
Yet their broader economic policy shows a completely different facet of their strategy. India is actively easing foreign direct investment, or FDI, rules for neighboring countries.
And FDI is when foreign entities are allowed to take ownership stakes in domestic companies. Notably, India is easing these rules for both China and Pakistan.
Which is fascinating because this economic opening is occurring simultaneously with stark public warnings from India's military leadership.
Yes, Chief of Integrated Defense Staff Air Marshal Ashutosh Dixit has warned of China's strategic encirclement of India via the Belt and Road Initiative. He explicitly noted that Beijing views New Delhi as a strategic competitor rather than a partner.
Okay, hold on. I need to stop you right there. Here's where it gets really interesting. India's military is openly warning that China is strategically encircling them. Yet at the exact same time, New Delhi is easing foreign investment rules for China and Pakistan. That seems entirely contradictory. Is this a masterclass in strategic balancing or a highly precarious tightrope walk?
It is a precarious tightrope walk, undoubtedly, but one rooted in a long history of strategic autonomy. India's official perspective prioritizes absolute energy security, the safety of its citizens, and Afghan sovereignty.
All while strictly avoiding rigid bloc alignments. They will trade with a competitor if it benefits their economy, while simultaneously defending their borders against them.
Exactly. And they are watching the alliances around them shift rapidly. China continues to arm Pakistan and expand its regional footprint.
Furthermore, Bangladesh, in its current state of vulnerability, has recently pivoted to include China and Pakistan in its defense cooperation.
For Bangladesh, this is about securing immediate military and economic lifelines. But for India, this significantly complicates their eastern flank.
Yet despite this external volatility, surrounded by kinetic war and shifting alliances, the internal metrics for India tell a remarkable, contrasting story of stability.
They really do. While the surrounding region grapples with open war and fuel riots, India has reported a 43% reduction in terrorist incidents over the past year.
Wow.
Furthermore, the 2026 World Happiness Report indicates India has climbed to the 116th position globally.
While Finland retains the top spot for the 9th consecutive year, of course.
Indeed. But the contrast within South Asia is stark. India's domestic stability metrics are improving precisely as the regional security environment violently deteriorates.
Moving from our analysis of these recent events, we turn to the professional intelligence forecast. Based on the data, what are the courses of action and what should observers watch for in the immediate future?
A critical development to monitor is the temporary ceasefire brokered for the Eid al-Fitr holiday, spanning March 19th through the 23rd. This pause in the Pakistan-Afghanistan war was established at the direct request of allied Muslim nations.
Specifically Saudi Arabia, Qatar, and Turkey. Interestingly, China also offered to mediate the conflict, but Pakistan formally rejected that offer.
Right. Citing unresolved issues regarding militant bases, the most immediate intelligence question is whether this Eid ceasefire will hold.
Given the high tensions and the porous nature of the border we discussed earlier, a single localized skirmish could collapse the pause and rapidly return the region to open warfare.
We must also watch how these nations manage intense domestic pressures alongside international conflict. There is a deeply surreal juxtaposition occurring right now in the sporting world.
Yes, the Pakistan Super League cricket tournament is currently scheduled to overlap directly with India's IPL season.
Imagine turning on your television. On Channel 1, your government is launching cross-border airstrikes. On Channel 2, your national cricket team is playing a T20 match in a packed stadium.
It is a profound push for normalcy. Hosting major international sporting events while actively engaged in a kinetic conflict highlights the complex dual realities these governments are attempting to maintain.
It is a desperate projection of domestic stability to the international community, even as military and economic resources are stretched to the breaking point.
So, looking at the board, what are the proposed courses of action going forward?
The intelligence outlines two distinct paths. The first is continued, sustained diplomatic mediation. This would likely be led by Muslim allied nations and the United Nations,
aiming to establish a permanent ceasefire and prevent the current hostilities from degrading into a wider multi-state proxy war where external powers begin funding different factions. And the alternative path.
The alternative is a prolonged, low-intensity war of attrition. Without a diplomatic breakthrough, Pakistan and Afghanistan will likely engage in recurring, retaliatory cross-border strikes.
This path further degrades regional stability, exponentially exacerbates the humanitarian crisis with the displaced populations, and opens the door for greater intervention by global powers seeking to exploit the chaos.
Exactly.
As we conclude this formal intelligence brief, we want to remind you about the tool powering today's analysis. Stylo News is a mobile and computer application that you can download right now.
It allows individuals to customize personal intelligence-style briefs, pulling from hundreds of traditional news sources and platforms like X.
It translates and normalizes global data so you can track complex events in real time. We highly encourage you to subscribe for AI-powered news on demand by visiting www.stylonews.com.
And, okay, stepping out from behind the news desk for a second, we are dropping the formal anchor personas now. We just want to say a huge, genuine thank you for joining us today.
Absolutely. It is always a privilege to have you as the third person in these deep dives. The world is moving incredibly fast right now, and taking the time to truly understand the mechanics and the why behind the headlines is more important than ever.
We couldn't agree more. And we would love to hear from you about what we should investigate next. Reach out, request topics for future deep dives, and be sure to follow Stylo News on your favorite social media platforms.
We love digging into the subjects that you find most fascinating.
But before we sign off, I want to leave you with one final, sobering thought drawn from the margins of today's intelligence reports.
Oh, what's that?
While the nations of South Asia are currently locked in disputes over drawn borders, sponsoring militant factions, and scrambling to secure fossil fuels amid a geopolitical crisis, international climate scientists have issued a dire warning that transcends all of this. The glaciers of the Himalayas are melting at an accelerated, unprecedented rate.
Wow. So what does this ultimately mean for the region?
It means an impending environmental crisis that directly threatens the water security of over 2 billion people. The runoff from these glaciers feeds the major river systems of the continent.
Which means losing them will devastate agriculture, cripple hydroelectric energy, and threaten the fundamental survival of the populations across India, Pakistan, Afghanistan, and beyond.
It is a profound reminder that while we fight over lines on a map, nature does not negotiate with borders.
That is a very powerful point to end on. Take care, everyone.